In the vast, silent deserts of the Middle East, where the sands stretch endlessly beneath a blistering sun and the night falls with an eerie stillness, a U.S. Army unit found itself stationed near a region steeped in ancient history and whispered legends. The year was 2004, during the height of military operations. The unit had been deployed to a remote area known for its strategic importance, but also for its unsettling reputation among locals. The outpost was located near the ruins of an ancient Mesopotamian city, a site that had once thrived thousands of years ago before falling into ruin. Locals spoke of the area with hushed voices, warning of spirits or jinn that guarded the land. These beings, according to Islamic folklore, were neither wholly good nor evil, but were known to inhabit desolate and abandoned places. Most soldiers dismissed the warnings as superstition, but a few couldn't shake the strange, oppressive atmosphere of the desert. The first sign that something was amiss came the very night they established the camp. As the soldiers set up their tents and equipment under the starlit sky, a peculiar stillness settled over the area. It wasn't the ordinary quiet of the desert, but something heavier, almost tangible. Private First Class, PFC. Lewis later described it as feeling like the air itself was watching them. The initial incidents were subtle. Radios that worked perfectly during the day began to emit bursts of static at night, occasionally interspersed with faint, unintelligible voices. Floodlights flickered despite secure power connections. Soldiers on night watch reported hearing what sounded like footsteps just outside the perimeter, but when they investigated, they found nothing. One particularly eerie event occurred when a group of soldiers discovered their supply crates inexplicably moved from their original positions. The crates, each weighing over 100 pounds, had been shifted several feet in the sand, with no tracks leading to or away from them. The soldiers were perplexed but chalked it up to exhaustion or a prank by someone in the unit. But the strange occurrences didn't stop there. They intensified. One night, PFC Lewis was patrolling the camp's perimeter alone. The moon cast a pale glow over the desert, and the vast expanse of sand seemed to stretch endlessly in every direction. As he scanned the horizon, his flashlight caught a glimpse of movement. Standing just outside the boundary was a figure, a man draped in flowing traditional robes. The figure was unnervingly still, his face obscured in shadow. Lewis called out, his voice firm, ordering the man to leave the restricted area. The figure didn't move or respond. Growing uneasy, Lewis radioed for backup, keeping his weapon trained on the intruder. As he adjusted the beam of his flashlight for a clearer view, the figure disappeared. Not ran, not faded, just vanished. When backup arrived, they searched the area thoroughly, but found no footprints in the sand, no sign that anyone had been there. Lewis, a skeptic by nature, was shaken. He swore he had seen the figure clearly and couldn't explain its sudden disappearance. The other soldiers began whispering about it, some jokingly, others with a nervous edge. But the mood in the camp shifted. Something wasn't right. Within days, more soldiers began reporting unsettling experiences. Many claimed to hear faint whispers at night, carried on the desert wind. The whispers were soft and fragmented, in a language none of them understood. Some thought it might be insurgents trying to sow fear, but the voices seemed to come from nowhere and grew louder the closer they got to the ruins. Sergeant Mitchell, known for his no-nonsense demeanor, was among those who initially dismissed the whispers as fatigue or imagination. But one evening, while inspecting the supply tent, he noticed something odd. The heavy-duty zippers on the tent, which had been securely fastened earlier, were wide open. Inside, the supplies had been tossed about as though someone, or something, had ransacked the place. Strangest of all were the intricate patterns etched into the sand outside the tent. The patterns were spirals and interlocking shapes, too precise to have been made by wind or animals. Mitchell called in the camp's interpreter, Kareem, for advice. When Kareem saw the markings, his face went pale. He explained that the patterns resembled symbols associated with jinn, ancient beings who were said to be territorial and protective of their domains. Kareem warned the soldiers to tread carefully and avoid disturbing the ruins any further. Despite Kareem's warnings, a mission required a small team to explore the nearby ruins. Corporal Jenkins led the team, which included 3 other soldiers. The ruins, believed to be thousands of years old, were partially buried in the shifting sands. As the soldiers descended into the crumbling hallways, an unsettling quiet enveloped them. It wasn't the silence of an empty space, but something deeper, almost oppressive. It was Jenkins who first noticed the sound. Faint at first, it grew louder as they moved deeper into the ruins. It was music, haunting, otherworldly, and unrecognizable. Alongside the music were whispers, soft but persistent, as though dozens of voices were speaking just out of reach. The whispers seemed to echo off the ancient stone walls, growing louder and more insistent. Jenkins later described feeling an almost magnetic pull toward the sound, as though it was drawing him in. The team quickly became disoriented. The ruins seemed to shift around them, with corridors that led back to where they started. One soldier froze in place, his eyes wide with fear. "Do you see them?" he muttered. When the others turned to look, they saw nothing but shadows. Yet the soldier insisted he saw figures watching them, tall, indistinct shapes that seemed to flicker in and out of existence. The team decided to retreat. As they left the ruins, the music abruptly stopped, leaving a chilling silence in its place. Back at the camp, Jenkins confided in Kareem, who told him the Jinn often used illusions to confuse and lure humans into danger. The most terrifying incident occurred on a moonless night. Staff Sergeant Ramirez was on watch when he noticed lights flickering in the distance. At first, he thought it might be a convoy or distant vehicles, but the lights moved in erratic, impossible patterns. They darted back and forth, spiraling and twisting as though defying gravity. As Ramirez watched, a powerful wind swept through the camp, extinguishing lanterns and plunging the area into darkness. Soldiers scrambled to relight the lamps, and in the chaos, several reported seeing shadowy figures circling the camp. These figures didn't move like humans. They glided, their forms flickering like mirages. When the wind died down and the lights returned, the soldiers discovered more of the strange patterns in the sand. This time, larger and surrounding the entire camp. Kareem was brought in again, and his expression was grim. He told the soldiers that the patterns were warnings. The Jinn were not just present, they were angry. The soldiers' deployment eventually ended, and they left the outpost with a profound sense of relief. Many refused to speak of what they had experienced, fearing ridicule or simply wanting to forget. But for those who did share their stories, the memories remained vivid. They spoke of the whispers, the lights, and the shadows that seemed to watch them from the darkness. Even years later, the events at that outpost are recounted in hushed tones among veterans and paranormal enthusiasts. While skeptics may dismiss the stories as the product of stress or imagination, those who were there know better. In that barren desert, where history and legend converge, they encountered something beyond explanation. A reminder that some places are not meant to be disturbed, and that the unseen world is closer than we dare to imagine.